Hello everybody, welcome to the Patriot Show. I'm your host, Anthony Stephen Malone. Today we have a very special guest with us on the show as well. Ryan Hendrickson, retired American Army, Green Beret, author, tip of the spear, incredible story. Sergeant First Class and was awarded the Silver Star, America's third highest award for valor. Hello Ryan, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you very much for having me on.
Hey, it's an absolute pleasure having you on, brother. Right, a lot of people might have heard a little bit about you, but they don't know that much. Before we go into the really interesting stuff, can you give us a little bit about the background of why you joined the military?
Yeah, so I guess when I was finishing up high school, my dad, I grew up in a really small town, about 1,300 people, and my dad told me, he said, "Look, you can go to college, or you can go get a job, or you can join the military, but you can't stay here, because if I let you stay, you're never gonna leave, and you're gonna be that 40-year-old at the gas station talking about your senior year of high school." And it's like, no, you got to go. He said, "I highly recommend you join the military. See the world, serve your country, and then, after 4 years, get out and figure life out from there." So, in the mid '90s, really the only thing going on was in the Navy, and so I joined the Navy with all these grandeurs of doing these great things, and about 9 months later, I found myself on board a ship in the Persian Gulf in July, which is extremely hot.
Yeah.
And but yeah, the Navy was amazing. I went all over the world, and exactly what my dad said. I got out of the Navy and I traveled around for a while, and then I joined the military again in 2003. This time I joined the Air Force, and I did that for about 4 years, 4.5 years, and then I switched from the Air Force over to the Army because I don't know, like I had really good experiences in both branches of the service, but I was missing something. I was missing the action, or the adventure. I think every soldier has that one question: what would they do if someone was trying to kill them? How would they react when the bullets are flying? And I did too. So I switched over to the Army, and I got picked up for Special Forces, went through the training, and ended up getting my Green Beret. And within about 6 months, I deployed to Afghanistan, and I figured out what it was like to, I figured out exactly, like, oh, okay, this is what it's like to get shot at, and it's not fun. So.
Yeah, was it all that you were expecting to be shot at?
So I think the movies really build it up to be this glamorous thing, and the good guys never get hit, and it's not scary because you're this tough guy. Well, when 7.62 is cracking past your head, it's really scary, and good guys get hit a lot. So reality and fiction in a firefight is, it's all glamour until that first round cracks past your head, and then it's not too glamorous anymore. Yeah. But it's addicting. Combat is extremely addicting.
Yeah, well, yeah, we can definitely say that one. You're a very modest person as well, because you've been downrange and in country a lot. How many tours did you do?
I've done 8 total deployments to Afghanistan.
Yeah, I want my viewers to get your head around that one. 8 tours, not 1 or 2 or 3, 8. All right, and he's here to tell the story of this as well. So that, as far as I'm concerned, that is a very dedicated Green Beret there. Absolutely. What was like on your first deployment when you knew you were going in country and down range? What were your thoughts at that point?
So I again I had all these, men have been going off to war for forever with these grandeurs of, greatness and heroism and all this other stuff. I had the same thing. I think, so at the time I was sent down south into the Helmand, and we had the Aussies, the Brits, and myself. We were all in the Helmand doing a major clearance operation. And it was the last real big push down south.
Right.
And yeah, 2010, it was a pretty deadly year for, for all troops involved in the Afghan theater at that time, but especially for the boys down south.
Yeah.
And so my mindset was, well, I didn't really know what to think because I've never been in that situation. But after after being on the ground for about 4 days and getting in our first firefight, I started to realize it's like, okay, instead of all this heroism stuff, I need to live. I need to survive. But more importantly, I need to make sure the man to my left and to my right survives. And but it was a really, really rewarding deployment all the way up until I stepped on my IED. It was a really rewarding deployment because we did missions with the Aussies, with the Brits and everything, and you really got that feel that regardless of where you're from, we were all brothers in arms, just trying to survive. And so I think that was the most influential deployment I ever had because of the different different bands of brothers that we all combined to make one family in the Helmand and Uruzgan province. But yeah, everything was great, man. I kept getting my fix with that adrenaline rush of combat, and then September 12th, 2010 came around, and I abruptly got stopped in my tracks with an IED. So yeah, that was the day I stepped on my IED. So
yeah, that was 2010. That was a hell of a year.
Yep.
I was in country at the time, and that was probably the worst year that I've known for insurgency, everything thrown together. It was just absolute madness at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Okay, so now we get on to the interesting part, the not so good part. Leading up to what happened, can you describe what was going on with you and the people you were with the hours before all of this? So my viewers have got an idea of what was happening.
Yeah, so we were tasked with my company. So a company has 6 ODAs, which is Special Forces teams per company. And our company was tasked with doing a valley clearance of the Chutu Valley along the Helmand River. Any listeners that know anything about the Helmand and the Helmand River, very dangerous area. But so hours up before, I remember we had to cross the river with all our equipment. So I was prepping Zodiac rubber raiding rafts and everything like that. And we were getting all our gear ready to go. And this was the big push. And in the valley, we had reports of 1,500 Taliban fighters and just everything. So it was very surreal, kind of like, wow, I can't believe this is happening. And that September 11th, we moved across the river and then started up to the last, basically what we considered the last friendly point, and waited until early morning, September 12th. And we pushed down the river into the valley and started our clearance operation. First set of compounds or village we came up to was the village of Sartutu. And again, listeners on here will know this is a bad thing when I say it, but the village was deserted and no civilians. So we knew right off the bat this was bad. And so I was engineer, 18 Charlie, Special Forces engineer. So I had a mine detector, and my job was to clear routes for the follow-on forces, and then we can move in and do whatever we had to do. So we were coming up to our first set of compounds, and when you do a village clearance, you have all the compounds on your, I'll just call it a map. on your map numbered. So you have compound 1, 2, 3, all the way through. So we came up to compound 1 of the clearance, and we had some Afghan, I forgot what they were called. They were called ASG, but they were militia. So we had some Afghan militiamen with us who were supposed to lead the way because this was their area. And so we got up to the first compound about 25 meters out, and I, gave the light signal, like, all right, let's go. And they wouldn't move. Hey, man, okay, all right, let's go. Light signal again. They're not moving. So I asked our interpreter, we called him Nick, but I asked our interpreters, hey, man, what is going on? And he said, they came back to him and he said, it's too dangerous. Well, I know it's too dangerous. We're along the Helmand River in a really bad part of town. And I know it's dangerous. We got to go. And he said, they said, no, you guys are better trained. Americans should go first. And it's like, man, if this was Texas, I would agree with you. But this is Afghanistan. And this is your country. And you guys said that this village. So we're going to need you guys to go ahead and do it. Well, I turned back around and our interpreter had ran down 25 meters to the main compound, and he was standing in the entryway, or standing next to the entryway, trying to wave the militiamen down there. And if you lose your interpreter, you lost the initiative because you can't communicate with your partner force. So I moved down trying to stay in his tracks all the way down and grabbed a hold of him. And I told him, Nick, like, you need to back off. This is stupid, very stupid. None of this area has been cleared. So I grabbed him and I pulled him away from the doorway, or the breach, as we'd call it. And you never want to have your side or your back exposed to an unknown area. So I had turned back into the doorway with my M4, so at least I had a weapon system in the courtyard of this compound, to where if someone started firing at us, I could at least engage them. And I couldn't quite see one blind spot, and so I took a step in to get a look, and boom, stepped on a pressure plate IED in the doorway. So.
Right, so obviously with that happening, that would be classed as having a bit of a bad day, for want of a better word. What happened next?
So after I stepped on the IED, I didn't really know what happened. The pain didn't hit me, and again, it was nothing like the movies. The pain didn't hit me. I was just very confused, but I couldn't breathe because of all the dust and the ammonia from the homemade explosives and everything like that. I couldn't breathe. And I remember thinking, it was like, if I don't get fresh air, I'm going to suffocate. But I couldn't stand up either. Every time I would try and get up, I would fall over, but it still didn't hurt. And so I thought that either something blew up inside the compound, or a compound wall, they shot an RPG and it hit the wall next to me, or something like that. I couldn't figure out what it was. And I kept, trying to, I grabbed my M4 and I was just trying to figure out what happened. I'm screaming for our terp, like, hey, are you okay? Answer me. Are you okay? And he was dazed, and he was laying on the ground. And finally, as the dust started to clear, I looked down and my leg was at a 90-degree angle to my leg. So if I was looking at my boot was actually, my leg looked like an L. And I couldn't, like, I remember thinking, and I remember this vividly. I remember thinking, like, I don't remember taking my boot off. Like, why is my boot like that? Because your brain can't comprehend all that. Like, that's too much for the human brain to comprehend. And so I grabbed behind my knee and I lifted my leg up and my boot flopped off. And I saw my tib and my fib poking out of my pant legs. I didn't know they were bones at the time because it was pearly. It was the whitest color I've ever seen. Super white. You can't, it's unrecognizable white. And I saw these two white objects sticking out of my pant leg. And then the pain started to hit me. And then once my brain told me that that was my bones, then the pain slammed me like a Mack truck. And I was just, oh, yeah, it was bad. So yeah, laying there, I remember I I kept asking, asking my team sergeant, I was like, help me. And I remember he's like, I can't get to you right now. You're in a minefield. And I was just like, and I remember I looked back and it was like, he's 25 meters back, but you might as well have been 10,000 miles. And I looked back and I was like, okay, I'm going to die here today. Like I'm going to die here today. And that was pretty tough. That was a pretty tough thing to, to comprehend. And it still is today, but yeah, eventually, guys made it up to me. We had one hero on my team. He ran through the minefield to get to me and started putting tourniquets on. Another Afghan ran through the minefield to get to me too, and he started applying tourniquets. And so, yeah, it saved my life, but I'll never forget looking back, and I was just like begging them to help me. And he said, I can't get to you. You're in a minefield.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I understood it. If anybody knows about Kajaki and the Brits that were up in Kajaki and they wandered into that minefield, that's why you don't go into a minefield.
Especially in
And
Afghanistan.
Yep, because we have a saying, where there's one IED, there's 5,
Yeah.
there's 10, there's,
Yeah. Thank you for explaining to me viewers there. I know that was not an easy conversation, for want of a better word, but you're still here. You got through that. After you got treated and that, and you spent, I'm going to leapfrog a little bit here as well now.
Mm-hmm.
You went into recovery, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how long were you in recovery for, and what happened next?
So I was in the hospital and they had to reattach my leg. The military medically retired me, and I fought my way back on the active duty, but I was on active duty. So I was in recovery, surgery, and hospital bed for 4 months, and then active recovery as in physical therapy. I got blown up September 12th, 2010, and I was released from physical therapy November 2011. And I was medically retired. I fought back onto active duty, retained on active duty, but non-deployable. I basically, I don't know. I think you guys have like, if you're hurt really bad, you have a medical waiver or a medical profile or something. Or, yeah. So I had a permanent medical profile, which we called it a dead man's profile. You really can't do anything.
Yeah.
And so I went to we have this program. Most special operations bases have this return to war or return to fight or whatever, and it's a grueling physical therapy program. A lot of athletes go through stuff like this to get back on the field again, or whatever it is, that their sport is. Well, same thing with us, except for we're going back to war. And so I buried myself into the return to fight program, and I got I got cleared. And so even though the Army gave me a dead man's profile, 7th Group waived that profile and basically said, yeah, you're good to deploy. And so in March 2012, I was on a plane heading back to Afghanistan after, about 17 months after almost dying. So.
Yeah, I would say on here, me viewers are going to be thinking, wow, all right, 17 months from stepping on an IED,
Mm-hmm.
going through all of that, the physical and the psychological, positive mindset, never giving up, always pushing forward. You return to the battlefield in combat 17 months later, again, with 7 Group.
Mhm.
In case my viewers don't realise in England what 7 Group is, it's 7 Special Forces Group in the
Mhm.
United States Army. Very specialised group of units and individuals. So for you to go back
Mhm.
with that again is an incredible thing. And that
Yeah.
just, I know you've kind of skipped a lot of what happened there, but absolute respect to anyone. Most people, including a lot of hardened combat veterans, once they stepped on the IED, that would have been it. Okay, and it is. Right,
Mhm.
a lot of them wouldn't have went back. You were like, no, I'm like bollocks. I'm not having that. I'm going back. End of. Okay, and you did. Right. So and then you went on. So you're now back in country. After all of that, you think, you know something, I'm
Yeah.
going to go back here. 7th Group got behind you, got you over there again. What happened next?
So I returned to Afghanistan, but I was supposed to hold a staff job. There was no combat in my future, but when I got on the ground, 2012, we were in Kandahar province, and in another pretty dangerous area, and there was a lot of guys getting injured, and they needed special forces engineers, because I think in 1 week we had lost 5 guys, and they were all engineers. And so I showed up, and they're like, well, he's an engineer. All right, you want to play special forces? You're going right back to a team out in combat. And I ended up in the Panjwai district of Kandahar province. And in 2012, Panjwai district was probably the most heavily IED'd area in all of Afghanistan. And I know the Canadians know about Panjwai really, really well.
Yeah,
They had to fight for their lives in there. So,
yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah, back into Panjwai, and whew.
yeah. Well, so you didn't just go into like a what you can't even call Afghanistan a normal theatre. You went downrange straight back into one of the 2012. That was one of the worst areas there. The
Mhm.
Canadians at this point were taking heavy casualties nearly every day there. I spoke to
Yep.
the Canadian commander at the time, and it was horrendous for a lot of the guys there.
Mhm.
But obviously, you've gone through all of this. You've went back right into the middle of it again. So you're there. You're in the valley. You're involved with the teams. What happened there as well?
So in Panjwai district, we there. I mean, the IED situation was absolutely something I've never, like, I can't even imagine it. And I was there. Um, there was we were attached, we were with a regular Army unit there, out of Fort Lewis, Washington, and I would say we were doing a ramp ceremony probably once a week, if not once every 2 weeks, for a guy getting killed. And most of the KIAs were IEDs. But I got into country, got sent out to the team. They're like, all right, you're here. We're going on mission, and yeah, you're going to prove yourself, because at that time, the team knew that what happened. The team knew of my injuries. They knew that I about died, about just roughly 17 months before that, and here I am back. And so instead of this ticker tape parade of, yeah, you made it back, everyone's like, what are you doing here? Because now you're a detriment to the team. And I understand that. I completely understand that, because yeah, it's great, but war is not the time for a Make-A-Wish Foundation kind of, yeah, bring them in and let's give them a little combat, rub them on the head and let them. It's not the time and place to do it. So I had to prove myself constantly. But we went out about 3 days after I got there, 4 days after I got there, and we had left the base, movement to one compound, and our white space in the area was maybe 500 meters, but we made it to one compound, and it's all right. checking gear, everything good to go. All right, moving out. And I got ahead with my mine detector in the position that I'm in front of the patrol. And about, I don't know, 100 feet into our first mission, IED. And I remember I hit it. I got the positive with my mine detector. The ground sign was there. I could see that, everything equaled IED. It's at a break in the wall. There's ground sign. I'm getting a positive hit. So I probe it and I get the yellow tape of the pressure plate. Like, all right, here's an IED. Normally what I do is that at that point in time, I put a block of C4. We get back, C4 detonates, and if we get the second detonation, which would be the jug of HME, then we move on. We sweep for secondaries and continue on. But this was, this device almost took my life. And so for some reason, I wouldn't go back and do this again, but I decided to pull the pressure plate, disconnect the battery pack, negotiate the pressure plate, pull the pressure plate out, pull the jug out, everything like that. And it's like, why? All I had to do is stick a block of C4 there and move on. But I had to get that one underneath my belt. And that would be one of hundreds that I would find in the Panjway that trip.
Yeah, I just want to make people aware of that. Not just a couple, hundreds. People have heard that right there. This was IED central, for want of a better word on it. I think what you did there was, it was a very brave thing to do, but it was good for you as well at that time, because you wanted to prove yourself psychologically that you are better than the IED. So you pulled it apart. That might explain that. Looking back, I bet you're thinking, hey, ever again, I'll get a block of C4 and I'm going to go the other direction. But with that one, you're done. Yeah. With that one, you've done, I think it was right. Then you got yourself into the mindset, right, I can beat these, especially when there's hundreds of these out there. We could speak a lot about the kind of IEDs and the different IEDs that were found out there, but that would take for like ever. So that would be a whole different kettle of fish anyway. So what happened further on that patrol and that? What happened?
So further on that deployment, I guess just so the viewers can kind of imagine it in their head, the IEDs were very easy to find because they were very high metallic. The problem is they were so easy to find, they put them everywhere. And so that's what the issue was. But so further on into that deployment, I think about 5 months in, we were going into another village doing a clearance, and we had taken contact, and we were in a tick, or troops in contact at that time. And so I did what every soldier in every army, well, mostly every army, knows what to do, is when you take contact, you get cover, and then you return fire, and you have fire superiority, violence of action, all that other stuff. So I had a ditch off to my left-hand side. So I ran for the ditch, and I got into the ditch, and I started returning fire. Well, we had been on patrol for like maybe 2 days, and my skin grafts were all rubbed raw, and so they were just open sores all over, because my right leg is basically one big skin graft, and the bottom of my foot is a skin graft. Well, it was all rubbed raw, and it was wide open. And so as this firefight is continuing, I start to get this really foul smell, just human feces smell. What is that smell? But you're still returning fire, and then aircraft come overhead, and the Taliban disappears. So now I have a time to kind of look around and figure out what is going on. Well, I had taken cover, and I was knee deep in a shit trench that the village used to basically do their business in, and then move on. So listeners who've been out and about in Afghanistan and whatnot like that, it's that trench that's right outside the compounds. Yeah. And I was taking cover in that, and all this raw sewage was just seeping into all my open sores on my leg and underneath my foot. And that's when that's kind of, we got back from that mission, and I told our medics what happened. and they said, you have to go to CAF, man. And so I went to CAF, and when I got there, my command basically said, hey, we're going to keep you here for observation because this isn't good.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I spent the rest of the deployment at CAF, and basically for a couple months of it, I was being watched pretty heavily by the medical staff. But then when they were certain that there was no infection or anything like that was going to be persistent, I was just fulfilling a role there, and I still was able to do some stuff, but it was more of a staff job. And I found work. I was driving forklifts and loading helicopters to get supplies out to the boys who were in the fight and everything like that. But towards the end of the deployment, the command we were doing this major clearance operation again, and the command, they wanted to get command and control. And where's the best place to get command and control? Up high. So there was this in the area that we were at, there was this place called Hilltop. I think it was 5,000 or 2,000, and it literally was within 2 kilometers. We were gaining, I think, 3,000 or 4,000 feet in elevation, so almost straight up. So I got onto that mission. I basically just conned my way onto that mission with my leg, because I knew that there was going to be some heavy hitters on that mission. The colonel would be there, the command sergeant major would be there. And it's not that I wanted to be a showboat, but I wanted to show them that I got it. Like, I'm not a liability, because, I just got medevac to CAF for my leg. And so now if I don't prove myself on this mountain, I may never come to go to our CAF for my leg. And it was one of the hardest things I ever did. But we got to the top, and some guys that were having muscle failure, I even helped carry a bunch of their stuff up to the top. And that pretty much solidified my existence, because if you can imagine, the 2012 deployment was kind of like a trial run, and if I didn't perform, I would never go back to Afghanistan. But Hilltop, I think 5,000. I gave it everything I had, and then some. And the command saw it, and after that, it was, this guy is okay, whatever. Even though I'm permanent profile, he's deployable. And so that would be my second trip, and then I would find myself, on back-to-back trips to Afghanistan in 16, 17, 18, and 19. Yeah. So, but that was the 12th trip.
Yeah, you spent an awful lot of time in country, and you spent a hell of a lot of time downrange as well. There's a difference between just being in country, being in camp, and being out on the ground. Massive difference in there, ladies and gentlemen. Ryan was downrange a hell of a lot, as were a lot of good soldiers out there as well. Can you tell us what was going on with yourself and the time period before you decided to come out of the forces as well?
Before what?
Excuse me. The time period just before you decided to come out.
Oh, to get out of the Army, or?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I had I went back to Afghanistan in 2016, which was we did I had about a 3-year break where we went to South and Central America a lot, because that's technically our part of the world that 7th Group covers down on. And then 2016 I was back in Afghanistan, and we had that 2016 trip really I guess kind of not really made me who I am, but it was a major factor in my life, because we had a mission to clear another village in Baghlan province, and we ended up in I mean, the fight for our lives, 4 Americans, WIA, 8 Afghans, KIA, 12 Afghans, WIA. I mean, we got ripped to shreds in this village. And so it really, it was like, it was a very big defining moment for me. And that was the Silver Star mission. Because we had dead bodies out there, men missing in action, our Afghan counterparts. And we weren't going to leave them there for the Taliban to get them. So we went out under fire and recovered all of our Afghan partners and got them back. So but it was a defining moment for me as far as like good and bad. So I came back and I was having a lot of just this mental tug of war in my head between, how am I supposed to feel? Because up until that point, that was the largest, engagement I'd been in, a close to 20-hour engagement with multiple casualties. And so, coming back off of that, just with the mindset and the tug of war and everything like that. And so, I started going down a wrong path and I guess I could, I'm talking about myself. So I started feeling sorry for myself. And I started using this excuse, nobody understands me. Well, of course, nobody understands you because they weren't there. And even the guys that were there, they're not going to understand your perspective on it. But I started holding that against people. And I slowly, was just going down a destructive path. Because I had this entitlement about me. Oh, you have no idea what I've done for you. Well, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like this entitlement mindset. So I had to get control over that. And what helped me out was writing. Like the book that I have, Tip of the Spear. It didn't start as a book. It started as therapy. I just started writing and that it helped me a lot because when we talk, you go home to your family, I go home to my family, and everything, all the feelings and emotions and everything we just discussed, it dissipates into air because it's just words. And I needed something that I didn't want to lose what I had. I just wanted to take it from myself and put it somewhere else that I can get it when I wanted. And our chaplain had recommended writing. Okay, so I was back in Afghanistan in 2017, the next trip, and I was, having some. I needed to get it out. I needed a release, and I opened up my laptop, and I just it just started pouring out, and then it went from combat to things that I dealt with as a child to excitement and travels it just poured out, and it felt so good. And days after days after weeks after weeks after months, I just kept unloading everything onto these Word documents. And I remember I would wake up after a dream and open up my laptop and write it out real quick or something like that. So at the end of that, I went back and I kind of reorganized everything to what it looks like in the book today. And I had some people, I asked some people, well, hey, real close friends of mine, like, could you read this? Tell me what you think. And and everybody, it was like, that's me, man. Like, that's me. And so I had family readings. Like, I didn't step on an IED, but that's me right there. And that's what kind of got the wheels turning with me turning this writing therapy into a book. So how did that shape me getting out? So I went back to Afghanistan in 2018 to 2019. And on that deployment, I was really I was fine tuning the book. I met somebody that was actually an editor, and he was helping me out. We were going back and forth. we made this thing a product, like he was also, hey man, people need to read this, like this,
Right, we're getting
a
a
super
couple of
soldier or a
we're getting a couple
Beret
of
or Navy
technical
SEAL
issues at the
or a
moment.
Brit Commando.
Right.
What's that?
We're getting a couple of technical issues at the moment. If we just give it a second, let it all catch up. Thank you for my viewers for their perseverance with this. It's just, okay, Ryan, we're back again.
Yep, sounds good. So basically, yeah, like how that kind of shaped, me getting out and everything like that was from 2007.
Yeah.
The book was taken hold, you know what I mean?
Tell you what,
When I was looking at either staying in for 24 years or getting out at 20 years, I just decided that I wanted to kind of pursue this message that I had that could speak to it could speak to everybody. It could speak to anybody. You didn't need to be a Green Beret or a Navy SEAL or a British Commando in order for this book to speak to you, because this was reality. This is life. And this is, as a Green Beret, I'm coming at you as a human. And so, yeah, that's, kind of, that's what shaped me in deciding to get out of the military and move on with, pursuing this book. And then, obviously to make money, I had to do doing some contract work. So, but yeah, that was pretty much, I know, very long story about why I got out, but that's pretty much
No, thank you for that. Apologies to everyone again. We've got a couple of slight technical problems because where both of us are speaking from at the moment, but people can get the gist of that. If people want to buy your book, Tip of the Spear, and I highly recommend this, it's not what you're expecting. Where can they find it?
So the easiest place I think for people to purchase the book is at on Amazon. And if you look up Tip of the Spear, Ryan Hendrickson, it'll come up right there. There's also on Instagram, I'm at a Tip of the Spear RH, and that's my Instagram. And so, and we can talk, best ways of getting the book. And then also, I have a website, believe it or not, but it's ryanmhendrickson.com. So,
Great.
But yeah, Amazon. Yeah. I would say Amazon would be the best.
Right, Amazon's the best place. All of the links and the information will also be put at the bottom of the interview as well. So if my viewers wish to go have a look at the book and buy the book, all the information will be on that as well. A lot of veterans, Ryan, are going through a hard time at the moment throughout the United States and England as well. Have you got a message to any veterans who are struggling at the moment?
Yeah, I do, because I've been there and I've struggled. But the biggest thing that I tell people that remember that situation that's going on at that point in time, or those thoughts or memories or whatnot that's going on at that point in time, that's only a period of time in life. Like, time marches on. There's nothing you can do to stop that. And with time, you will also move on from that situation. But there's a couple things that will stick with you. And I had to learn this through, my rehabilitation with my leg and everything like that. It's so that, that situation, you're going to move that. What will always stick with you the rest of your life is how you dealt with that situation. And so one of the things that I tell people is, don't allow yourself to look back as an old man and be ashamed of how you handled that situation. Allow yourself to look back and be proud, and be content with how you dealt with that situation and or incident or whatnot. And like I tell everybody, it's, as bad as it seems at that point in time, and as dark it is as it is, or as painful as it is, that the only thing that's keeping you is you. There are so many people, like the veteran community today is, the veteran community today is very, very receptive, and people want to help. They want to talk, and I'm telling you, like, there's so many resources out there. Don't be the Ryan Hendrickson that kept thinking, I don't need anybody's help, and I just kept digging that hole deeper and deeper and deeper until there was moments when I wasn't sure if I wanted to keep going or not. And that's a dangerous thought, very dangerous thought. But that's my best advice, is remember, this is a period of time, and time will move on. But don't allow yourself to look back and regret how you handled a certain situation. Take control, take ownership of that situation, own it, and then understand that there's going to be a point in time in life when you're going to look back on it, and do your best to look back and be proud of how you handle that situation, if that makes any sense at all.
Ryan, I couldn't have put it better myself, mate. That was very well put. And I think a lot of my viewers will understand exactly where you're coming from as well. Thank you for your words and your advice on that to fellow veterans. Very important indeed. I'm going to start to close down the interview now. We're getting a little bit of interference at the moment, which is expected. Would you like to say anything else to my viewers?
Yeah, I just I appreciate everything that me on. You let me tell my story, and the viewers out there, not only for their service.
We are getting some technical issues with this at the moment. I would like to thank Ryan for his service as well, and everything he has done for the West and for America as well. I'm going to close down the interview at the moment because obviously of technical problems. But thank you everyone for watching the Patriot Show, and we will catch you again on the next show. Thank you very much, everyone. Stay safe. Goodbye.